So yeah, man, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about it, obviously, on the show, but that whole DeAndre Hopkins thing, man, so frustrating to me. I mean, now watch, Tennessee's going to come out and win the Super Bowl this year or something.
Absolutely.
Prove me completely wrong, but the dude did not even get a lot of money. So it's frustrating to see him go to a team that he's not going to win with. I don't see it. They have some talent on the team, but I don't see them coming out of the AFC.
Did you see someone had posted before Hopkins joined the team that Mike Vrabel led the Tennessee Titans in touchdowns, and he was a defensive player.
Yeah. Yeah, on the roster. He had like 12 touchdowns in his career or something like that. These other dudes that were on the roster had like 3-4 touchdowns. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Traylon Burks is probably going to be a good one, but
seems like it.
I know, Tad, you kind of were hoping that he'd go to the Ravens, but I've been reading things that like the Patriots seem like they're upset that they didn't land him. Like the Patriots were like heavily in the mix, and I'm like, I get it, but I don't get it. Like I don't know. It was a weird thing, obviously, for where he landed. But yeah, I wasn't even fully aware that the Patriots were going that hard to go get him. You know,
well, he visited. They had him in for a visit, and everybody said it went really well, and it looked like he was going to sign with the Patriots. That's what kind of everyone thought was going to happen. And then when you see the price that he signed at, it's kind of like how, and they're saying the Patriots lowballed him. It's like I feel like the Titans lowballed him. Like what? Like how could the Patriots not have offered that to him?
What's an aging wide receiver worth these days? You know?
Yeah, I guess.
There you go.
You know, someone said that he signed with like the Chiefs and done like a 1-year deal or something with the Chiefs and won the Super Bowl, that he would have gotten another huge contract. That was possible. I mean, I know the Bills were interested, but they had a price, man, where they were just not going to go over. And I guess the Titans must have just made him feel like he was wanted. I don't get it. I mean, I've got some Tannehill stats that I think maybe be a little bit surprising. We'll get into that he may not be, as bad as maybe people think. So I'll see what you all think. I found these stats and I thought they were pretty good. So be something to throw out there. But yeah, I mean, geez, you're trying to chase a ring. You would think he's trying to chase a ring. I mean, he had a list of things, right? A great quarterback, a great defense. Now, Titans defense against the run were amazing. I think they were like first against the run or top 4 against the run. Literally dead last against the pass. So
crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see how he ends up. But yeah, I mean, the Bills, Patriots, the Chiefs. Yeah. Like I could have thought of 10 teams to go to before you would have picked the Titans. So
yeah, crazy.
We'll see.
Hefe's dog is furious that
really
DeAndre went to the Titans.
He's super mad about that.
Freaking out over there. All right, well, let's do this. I'll go ahead and play us in, and we'll get this sucker started. So
I'm gonna go ahead and shut the door.
Okay. All right, playing us in now.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
That's right, everybody. Welcome. You get the Horn Show, Tad and Jeff, and we got a special guest tonight. Our boy Jefe, after a long hiatus, has rejoined. The prodigal son returns. Good to have you, brother.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for allowing me to join the festivities.
Absolutely, man. Good
we knew you couldn't hold out forever. I mean,
that's right.
That contract that we provided, I think, is pretty fair.
That's it. Draw him back in. Yeah, man. So we got a lot to cover tonight, obviously. With 3 of us, it might, we normally try to keep it at 2 hours. When we add a third person in on opinions and stories, God only knows, we might be able to go 6 or 7 hours. That's how it normally goes when we're all hanging out. But yeah, so we'll roll through this thing fast and furious tonight. You know, just to kind of wrap up the conversation, I guess, that we were having there right before the intro, just about, you know, obviously wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Tennessee Titans. It is a situation that makes very little sense to me if you're a DeAndre Hopkins. If you're DeAndre Hopkins, first of all, much less a DeAndre Hopkins fan, that's a team that doesn't just doesn't make a lot of sense for him to go to. You know, presumably the quarterback is still going to be Tannehill, but is that going to be for one more year? You know, you drafted Will Levis, you still have Malik Willis. It's just an unsettled situation. And DeAndre Hopkins has had a whole career of unsettled quarterback situations on not great teams. And this is just seems par for the course. So, you know, I don't know. It seems just, it's crazy to me that, you know, this is maybe his last chance at really being able to go play for a winner, and he picked Tennessee instead. So,
yeah, I don't think it makes. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't seen like the reasoning behind it. I outside of money, which again we discussed earlier, the money wasn't like, holy cow, that was an overpay. That's what you had to do to get him. It didn't seem like it was any more than what anyone else would have, you know, offered. It didn't seem that outrageous. And then he's got, you know, I think to get to the height of that, he's got to meet a lot of requirements. Now, some of them weren't that bad. I had to go back and look at all the incentives to get.
It's like 250,000 or 500,000 for every like 250 yards. It's like 750 like gets you this, 1,000 gets you this. Yeah. You know, like keeps bumping up.
So it's not impossible. It just was like, I don't know. It just didn't really seem to make any sense. And he had a set list of things that he wanted in in his next team, and I'm not sure they checked the box off. What?
Oh, I mean, he said what he wanted out of his next team, and he picked teams and quarterbacks he'd want to play with, and he got not what he wanted and none of the quarterbacks that he listed. So it seems crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted a top ranked defense. Tennessee's right in the middle of the pack. We talked about it. They were 15th overall. Great run defense. I mean, he did mention like having the, great line up front, which they do, but then they also had the worst pass defense, and then was like second worst for giving up touchdown passes. So it's not like that Tennessee defense is like, holy cow. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand why you went there. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
We all know that, Henry's going to be the workhorse. He always is, always going to be, right? So that being said, does he think that maybe his numbers will shine maybe a little bit better because he'll maybe get open, you know what I mean? Because everybody's going to focus on stopping Henry whenever they can. And I don't know. Obviously, money's not the factor in the decision. I mean, what was it, 27 guaranteed? If I'm not mistaken, something.
I think it was
24. Okay,
yeah, I think it was 24 with incentives that could get him up.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, again, he probably could have made more elsewhere. I don't know. Maybe we were discussing 1-year deals to prove himself somewhere. Not that he needs to prove himself. I think his numbers speak. They speak for themselves. I don't know. We're all scratching our heads. I know other teams probably are doing the same, but for a person of his talent, for him to be where he's at in Tennessee, like we all said, with a quarterback that everybody knows was a wide receiver coming out, that they converted into a quarterback. Then you have, the rookie from last year that ended up not panning out after he got hurt as much as they thought. And then they picked up the kid with the big arm, the workout stud from the draft, Levis. So
Levis,
yeah. Like I don't know. I just it's a head scratcher. That's what it is.
Well, I'll tell you something else with it too. Is that you look at the deal. So first of all, DeAndre, it's a 2-year, $26 million contract, and of course, then the incentives that he can make supposedly an additional up to $6 million in incentives, which would end up being $32 million over 2 years. But his base salary is $12 million in 2023. And his last contract with the Cardinals was 2 years, $54.5 million.
Oh, jeez.
So, And again, I mean, that's what happens, man. You end up on a team, first of all, on a team with Kyler Murray, and then, secondarily, a team that just does not have. He was never the right fit there, and it never clicked. And then, of course, he had the suspension that put him behind the 8 ball as well. So I think there were just struggles there that weren't going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, contract wise, this is probably his third biggest because he signed with Houston, right? His Houston was the first one. He was like the first contract that he had that was worth a lot. Then he went to Arizona and had 2 years at that 50 mil. And now this one, he may be on the cusp of nearing $100 million in total contracts over the span of his career. Hopefully he had somebody, helping him navigating that so he can make sure that that's generational wealth that he has acquired over this time. So, again, maybe it wasn't about the money in the end. I don't know.
I mean, it seemed like it could have. It seemed like it had to have been about the money because no one was offering him more. I mean, he took the money.
Sure.
Because if it's not about the money, then you don't go to Tennessee. If it's not, it has to be about the money. It had to be that nobody else was offering him anywhere near that. Like these had to have been veteran minimum contracts that they were offering this guy.
Sure.
He was probably offered $5 to $7 million per year, with probably some incentives built into it or option years or something like that. This has had to be the dude didn't have the market he thought he had. A little surprising, given that, what we think of DeAndre Hopkins, but what is he, 31, 32 at this point? So you don't see too many of them put up like amazing numbers at that age. I mean, you do have some that can do that, but I mean, for the most part, that's the only thing I can think of is that this dude just didn't get the offers he thought he was going to get, that he was being offered way below that, because otherwise you don't go to Tennessee.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, it's kind of crazy because in 7 seasons with the Titans, this is all according to Spot Track. In 7 seasons with the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins made $57.7 million.
You said Titans, you mean Texans?
Houston?
Oh, I'm sorry, Texans. Texans, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 7 seasons with the Houston Texans, DeAndre Hopkins made $56.7 million.
Okay.
In 3 seasons with the Arizona Cardinals, he made almost exactly $55 million.
So he's over $100 million in his career.
$111.5 million for his career.
Wow.
And but he made almost as much. I mean, within $2 million in 3 seasons with the Cardinals as he did in 7 seasons with the Texans.
Wow.
All right. So let me throw this at you. I told you I had some Tannehill stats. This comes from Chicken of the Sea WB on Twitter.
Sure.
Now, I did not verify this, so I'm gonna take this guy's.
He seems legit.
Listen, I mean, if you get your info from Chicken of the CWB, you know it's legit. You don't need to verify it.
Yeah. So I'll take these as gold. But in 57 games with the Titans, this is Ryan Tannehill's stats. Okay, 12,831 passing yards, 89 touchdowns, 33 picks, 66.9% completion percentage, 100.5 QB rating, 819 rushing yards, 20 rushing touchdowns, back-to-back AFC South titles, AFC title game appearance, playoffs in 3 of the 4 years. They aren't half bad stats.
Nope.
No, they're not bad. I'm surprised by the rushing touchdowns for sure. 20 rushing touchdowns. That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see him as that. How many games did you say again?
It says 57 games.
And how many passing yards?
12,831.
Do the math.
So he averages 225 passing yards a game. Which, again, that's probably the recipe for their success is if Tannehill throws for 200 yards a game and gets 2 touchdowns and a pick, I mean, that's basically probably, and I'm ballparking this because I don't have those stats in front of me, but I'm guessing we probably average it out. It's probably pretty close to that.
Yeah. I mean, here's a game he did against Buffalo. I have no idea what the game it was, but this was, I think, I don't know if this was the entire game or first half, but 21-28, 195, 3 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. So he's very solid. But, of course, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Is he Mac Jones? Maybe. Is he as good as Mac Jones? So maybe if it comes down between Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill, you're going to go with, the team with warmer weather. I'm just guessing. Like, I don't even know. I'm not sure how much more warm Tennessee would be in the winter than New England. I'm assuming a decent amount difference.
Got to be better.
I would assume it's got to be better. But yeah, I just my theory is there just wasn't the market that he thought there was going to be. So
makes sense.
And with Will Levis. Now, here's the thing: the Titans paid this money to a 31, 32-year-old DeAndre Hopkins. Why couldn't they have just extended AJ Brown?
Great question.
Last year.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, it's still AJ's going to be $100 million.
I suppose, but it's going to be spread over the same amount of time, and AJ's way younger than DeAndre Hopkins. I just think if you're going to go out and get this type of receiver, you already had that type of receiver, younger. Arguably, I guess, I don't know if you put him on. I mean, it seems at least in the past year or two, you probably put him on the same track. I think a lot of people might put AJ ahead of DeAndre, but as
for where they are today,
not overall career, but as of today, and that's
Yeah.
what you're building for. You're not building for the past. So, yeah, why didn't you just extend him? Whatever. We'll see how it turns out. It's going to be interesting for sure.
The GM lost his job over it.
That's true too. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
John
part of
Robinson's
the reason.
gone. And I think most people think of that as one of the dumbest moves that maybe any team has made in recent memory for them to turn around and do that. So for the Titans to let go of AJ Brown, really for not even a massive haul or anything, just
No.
one of the dumber things that you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poor AJ Brown goes into an offense that's instantly built to just run and gun, and has a quarterback that is just showing the possibilities of being an MVP in and out.
Yeah.
So yeah, good on him for not signing or not staying there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on here, gents. Got a little stuff. This is going to be way different. We're going in the complete opposite direction here, but I saw this story and it's been going around a little bit, and I think it is worth talking about. Burger King in Thailand introduces a burger, I'm saying that in quotations, with 20 slices of American cheese and no meat, called the Real Cheeseburger. And just to let you know here, I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see this thing.
Yeah,
So disgusting, man.
I mean, is that something you'd ever want to eat? Keep in mind, there is not a hamburger in the middle there or anything.
Not even
the
a thin little
only
patty,
thing,
huh?
the only thing you're biting into is 20 slices of cheese and dry bread. There is no sauce. There is no meat. There's nothing. There's nothing on there, and that's it. The Real Cheeseburger.
So essentially a grilled cheese sandwich without,
Except it's not
grilling.
grilled.
it's not
it's
grilled at all.
It's not grilled.
And it doesn't even look that melted. I don't know.
No.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's a picture, right?
No,
Like, I'm
I mean,
thinking
it's melted some, but
I usually grab a burger, and I'm the guy that's gonna cut it in half to eat half of the burger. You cut that in half, you're just gonna get cold cheese in the middle, and that is not worth biting into for 1 second. You know what I mean?
oh, it's
Look,
terrible.
All right.
Burger King's headquarters is down in Miami, right? I maybe need to take a trip there and be like, what are you guys thinking? And they can get away with it in Thailand, but you're not going to do that
I'm
here.
assuming, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, you
I
probably
hope
get away
not.
with it here. Someone here would buy that.
Yeah, all
That's
right.
right. In the Midwest,
come
put
on,
it in the
man.
Midwest, put it in Missouri, Kansas, those places maybe go for it. Wisconsin, they probably
right.
love that.
All right. How much would someone have to pay you to eat
Oh,
that?
man.
Realistically, what is a realistic number? Let me throw a number at you. $200.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to eat it for $200.
I think I would
why
too,
would I
yeah.
not eat it for
You
$200?
would?
I'd probably eat it for $10. I mean, I'm not going to like it, but it's not like it's like
I'm not.
It's just
No, that is way more.
Yeah.
That is
just eating
way
a block
more
of
than
cheese,
I thought.
basically.
$100 is the lowest I think I would be like, yeah, I'd eat that for $100. Anything below that, I'm good. It's not worth not being able to go to the bathroom for a while having eaten that.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, it's gonna
One
be. Well, I also feel like it would be very dry. It would just be so like there's no sauce, there's no nothing to it. It's just like old melted cheese on bread. Yeah. I don't know who wants it. I don't know the Thai diet that well. The people in Thailand, like, what do they eat? That this is something that they introduced. Like, like, oh, you'll like this. This is going to be great in this market. Like, what made you think that this is what these people would want?
I mean, I have a really, really good to great Thai restaurant near my house. They don't serve cheese. There's nothing has cheese on it. So I'm assuming they don't eat
just
cheese
put a block
in
of
Thailand.
cheese. You can't just order a sub roll filled with a block of cheese. That's not a thing.
I mean, I think just like a regular pack of cheese only has like 8 slices in it, if I'm not mistaken. So this is literally almost 3 packs of like store-bought cheese that you. Nah. I mean, I wouldn't do it for $100. I'm sorry. I don't think I could finish it.
That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Could I eat all of it? Could I finish it, or would I just be by the third bite? I'd just be so disgusted.
You'd be paying them the money back. Oh, like here, just take it. Yeah, I can't do this. Oh, that is gross, man.
The only thing I can compare that to is so down here in South Florida, and you guys all lived in Florida at one point in time. We deal with hurricanes, and there was a year that we had like 3 or 4 of them in a row, and a lot of things were shut down. And I think one of the few places
that was my last year living there.
Is that right? Oh, you're so okay.
Yep.
Man, smart man, way to get out. So the only thing that was open was like a oh my god, what are those places? Not so much like all you can eat, but it was basically all you can eat, and like you'd go
like Perkins type.
Yeah, you get a plate, you go around, and it was like one of the few places that actually had. They were like connected to a hospital, so they actually had electricity and stuff like that, and you could go there. So you had to wait like an hour to get into the place if you didn't, if you couldn't eat at home. And I remember sitting down and sitting near a family, and there was a kid that all he had on his plate was cheese, shredded cheese that he just ate. And I couldn't understand it because, things aren't functioning in your household when you don't have electricity. And this kid is tempting in his life to go ahead and just eat gobs and gobs of cheese. And that's when I look at that picture, it's the same thing. It's the same thing I see.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
The only thing open at our place was a Chinese restaurant. Those
gas. Yeah.
In the middle of the hurricane, they were
open. They don't care.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No.
Come on in. Come on in.
Yeah, we're open. Come on.
Grab some chopsticks. We're good.
Yeah.
It's like in A Christmas Story when they go and they eat the duck on like Christmas Day. The same type of thing.
Rah, 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 rah. Not fra, rah, rah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. So anyway, I saw that whole thing in Thailand and just thought that is just, but it is fascinating because, these like other countries, different countries have such different interests and different diets. It's not unusual for, China or Thailand or wherever they'll introduce something and see, how it does. And I don't know, like they're also just getting really lazy. Like there's no creativity behind this. Like there's no special sauce or some ideas. Like, I don't know, what if we just stuck a bunch of cheese on some bread? And you're like, done. Let's do it. Let's roll it out with a special promo.
Should we add a hamburger to it? Nah.
No.
Nah.
We're gonna call it the Real Cheeseburger.
It doesn't even make
automatically
sense.
setting you up for a lawsuit. Isn't it just a cheese sandwich? Best case scenario, this is a cheese sandwich.
There's no burger in it. There's
not a burger at all.
Yeah, I'd be furious if I got that. Like, extra cheese on my burger? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, the Real Cheeseburger. I haven't heard anything about this. I need to try it and bite into that thing. What?
Yeah.
They tricked me.
The real
Just assumed someone
cheeseburger.
there was pranking you.
at
Give me
the
this
at the
time,
Burger
Thai
King.
Burger King.
Yeah. Yeah. Burger King's just giving up on using meat now. They're just like, screw it. It doesn't matter.
Dude,
People will buy whatever we put out.
The when I was living in Florida, there was a Burger King close to my job. Dude, I cannot tell you how many times, 3 to be exact, because then after that I was like, I'm done going.
Okay,
I
third
went
time.
in
Third time.
the third time.
Yeah.
Because the first time you're like, all right. Second time you're like, third time is like, all right, you guys just, this isn't going to work.
You're tricking me.
I went in there 3 separate times and they did not have burgers. Like, oh, I'm
What?
sorry, we don't have burgers.
No.
Like,
How is that?
what do you mean? Like,
You're
yeah,
the king of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were just like the truck didn't come in or something. But it was 3 separate times. I was like, okay, well,
How does that happen
this
3
is probably
times?
dumb. I don't know. Yeah, someone just didn't order food, I guess.
Right.
I mean, if you saw the area that it was in, you probably would understand, and you'd probably be not super shocked that it was
Someone
that there
hijacked that
wasn't
truck.
any. Yeah, it's yeah.
Ugh, that's crazy. So anyway, there you go, man. Burger King, the real cheeseburger. Got to go to Thailand to get one, but might be worth it. Might be worth the trip.
Wonder if that's on the secret menu here in the United States.
Everybody has a secret menu.
That's right. Got to just know how to order it.
Yeah. Ugh, gross.
All right, so moving on. This last week was an eventful one. A very well-known person died, a person that has influenced and affected the lives of many, many, many people. Dare I say, almost everyone has in some way been influenced by this person who died last week. The gentleman's name is James Lewis. James Lewis was suspected in the 1982 Tylenol poisonings that killed 7 people in the Chicago area, triggered a nationwide panic, and led to an overhaul in the safety of the over-the-counter medication packaging of everything, all kinds of stuff, right? So all the things that you have now, the foil seal when you go to open like a thing of, aspirin or Tylenol or whatever, that happened because none of that used to be in there. They used to just like when you opened it, it was just wide open. And this dude was poisoning stuff. So allegedly, never found guilty of it. But someone was putting poison in this stuff and people were dying. And because of that, Tylenol and many others ended up actually adjusting and starting to make various safety procedures as part of their manufacturing. One of them is the seal, the foil seal at the top. They also pack it with cotton. So that way, if somebody, jabbed a syringe and you put it in, it would be absorbed by the cotton before it gets down in there. So they made it so much harder to be able to damage anything. And it was because of this guy, James Lewis. And it was kind of a fascinating thing because, first of all, he died at 76, not a suspicious death. No one poisoned him. He was not ever charged in those 7 deaths. And in fact, no one was ever charged for 7 deaths. And whoever this person was doing, what they were taking over-the-counter painkillers and putting cyanide in them. And so he ended up now again, you can't leave a good thing alone. This guy had not been caught. Then he ends up sending a letter, an extortion note to Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer, demanding $1 million to, quote, stop the killing. Now, that would seem like a pretty clear admission of guilt, but his thing was, no, I just wanted to try to see if they'd give me $1 million. I wasn't ever able to actually stop the killing because I never did it. I just wanted to see if I could get paid $1 million. So he did time in prison, but the time he did in prison was 12 years for sending the extortion note
For
to
extortion.
Johnson.
Wow.
If he hadn't ever said a word, he'd have been totally fine. So he did 12 years in prison. Never admitted to anything, and he got arrested in New York City in 1982 after a big manhunt. He actually gave investigators a detailed account of how the killer might have operated but said that he never actually did it himself.
Is this the OJ If I Did It book?
Exactly, yes. If I did it, yeah.
I would have done it the exact same way.
Seems like a genius crime to me, so I wouldn't have changed a thing. But yeah, so it was a crazy thing. So this guy died last week, and definitely had a massive impact on the world as it pertains to packaged goods and stuff like that. So I thought it was just kind of an interesting case there, because this is a guy that never, I mean, even in 2010, the FBI was coming to get DNA samples from him because they were investigating this for something that happened in 1982.
Wow.
So yeah,
So they were trying to go back and see if they could pin more on him.
Yeah, they're still looking for it. And I mean,
That's
I don't understand what they had, but clearly there wasn't enough even from the DNA that he gave, more recently to ever actually get him for anything.
That is
so
wild.
He's like that guy where, was he the guy? Was he not? I mean, he admitted that he was the guy, but then said that that wasn't true. So those are the kind of crimes that really make you nuts, because you figure now that dude's dead. We will probably never, ever know who killed those 7 people and who put cyanide in Thailand. Highly unlikely that you ever figure that out.
Definitely won't get any answers from him.
Yeah.
I feel like they got to know. They have to know who did this. Come on.
But if they know, why wouldn't they take him down? Unless you're saying that they know it wasn't him.
Yeah, there's something else there. It's got to be. Come on. Even in 1982, you couldn't figure out who was going around putting cyanide into pills, like going into stores. No cameras, no witnesses, no nothing.
I don't think they had cameras in 1982.
I mean, I'm sure they had some for them. I mean, no witnesses, no nothing, though. I don't know. It's.
You think maybe he was CIA or something himself? Maybe.
You know how we go down these rabbit holes, and I
true.
said I never want to go down, and I always go down. I always go down happily. I hop right down that thing and just slide on down. I just, come on. There had to be some reason that they don't know who did this. I mean, did he do it? I don't know. I mean, it's pretty funny that he sent, demanding this, and he said it was, to embarrass his former employer or something, I think, if I remember correctly, because it was going to go to their bank account. So it's
stupid.
Yeah. So,
so now anytime I got to open up a pill bottle, I got to thank this guy for the changes and how it takes me, instead of being able to just open it and, be able to take my Advil or whatever. Now I have to, fiddle with it just to get the damn top off.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and
his
then once you get the top off, you got to somehow figure out how to get that piece of film that's over it just perfectly around. And heaven forbid you buy any generic version of it, because that you're going to have to get a knife out and everything else. Probably end up cutting
made out of
yourself.
asbestos. It's made out of asbestos. It's harder to get off.
Hey, so we're better off now than we ever were.
So perfectly. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Way to go, James Lewis.
Thank you.
I also think about that, though. At any point in time, you could have just walked into the store, opened the bottle, and just popped some pills and put them back.
It was a different world. That's what I'm saying. Is you're saying, well, someone had to have seen something. Dude, do you realize how often people were probably just grabbing stuff, opening stuff, not thinking of it? It was just such a weird world, man. I don't know. It's hard to imagine.
True. Yeah. I can't imagine, someone has a real bad headache, didn't have money, they're just not popping into a drugstore, opening up a bottle and just pulling a couple out.
Yeah.
There was nothing stopping you from doing it.
No, it was practically encouraged, and they probably weren't even telling you on the label how many tablets were in there, because it was you get whatever's left over. Whatever someone else didn't take already, that's what you get.
Somewhere between 22 and 38.
Seems a little light. I don't know.
Just I'm going to dig for one in the back here to see if I can get a full one that they haven't already gone through. The hippies go in here and they take them all. I can't get them.
Wild times, man. Well, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, James Lewis calls us all to lose our innocence. So thanks a lot, James. But yes, I just thought that was kind of an interesting. The story itself is so interesting, and it has made such a difference, such an impact on the way that that people consume things that they purchase, and really you never give any thought to that. But the idea that someone out there, if it wasn't, whether it was James Lewis or someone else, someone poisoned 7 people with cyanide and never got caught, totally got away with it. So yeah, thought it was kind of.
They need to do that now with these ice creams so that they don't put the film over. You see these idiots that go in there and like lick ice cream and challenge. Oh my gosh. You know how much that infuriates me when I see those.
No, you should go right to
videos.
prison.
Oh, right to prison. Yeah.
No trial. No trial. We got you on camera.
Yeah.
We got
What
you
are
on
you
camera.
gonna say?
There's no reason that you would have picked up the pint of ice cream to your face. But you're saying you didn't lick it? You don't have to smell it for freshness. If it's near your face, you're going to prison.
Straight to prison.
Yeah.
I thought that a lot of the people that have done that and they like posted them, like if they found them, they are prosecuting them to a certain degree, whether they learn their lessons or not, who knows? But from what I understand, because I think people's level of intelligence when it comes to doing something and recording themselves and putting it out there for others to see and witness what it is that they've done. I don't know how much thought goes into that. The whole like innocent till proven guilty, except you're red-handedly caught because you're the one that posted the dumb video of yourself doing said action. You deserve everything. You if the law comes after you, you got to pay the piper, man. Got to do it.
Yeah. It's so gross. I don't know anyone that finds it funny. Maybe I'm just way too old for this and I don't understand like young TikTok humor. I just don't find it funny at all that you licked ice cream and put it back. What is funny about it? Where is the gag? Tell me where the gag's at. If you can make me understand it, maybe I'll try it myself if I can figure out what's so funny about it. But I haven't figured it out.
I know we're going down this rabbit hole of things, but like I read an article the other day about this challenge, because everything's a challenge, right? That's what people are getting challenged to do. So it's incumbent on you to do what it is that the other person did to keep the thing going. And I read one where people were jumping off the back of a boat as he was speeding away.
Yes!
And I think there's reported 7 deaths because people have been snapping their necks because the one video shows a boat going at a certain amount of speed, and then there's others that are doing it and they're like full throttling it. So when the person does decide to jump off the back of the boat, it's causing them to just snap their neck as soon as they hit the water. And to each their own on what it is that you're trying to accomplish in this world, but maybe the strong will survive. What's his name? What's the psychologist? Darwinism. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's a little wild.
Do you know who I blame this on?
So you have an individual person.
No, I've got a
Please
disease
do tell.
I blame this on.
Yeah.
Please
I've
do
got
tell.
a disease. ALS. I blame it on ALS.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The ice bucket
bath.
challenge.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
Good intent.
Blame us. Yeah.
Good
Not
intent.
only does it, not only does it ruin your motor functions,
Yeah.
it also has spurned all these other challenges.
Sure.
That's yet another way that ALS has damaged society and hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get that.
Thanks, Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I can blame
the
it
worst.
strictly on one person. No, Lou Gehrig.
Right.
There we
He's
go.
the one that brought it to the forefront.
Yeah. So this is all Lou Gehrig's.
I consider myself the luckiest man.
Yeah. Also
Well,
a
it's really-
jerk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because it used to just be called Lou Gehrig's disease, and now everyone really knows it as ALS, which makes me wonder: did the family of Lou Gehrig do a lot of work behind the scenes to like change his like, hey,
Come on, man.
he did this other stuff that he was really good at. Like, why he doesn't want to have this? This doesn't need to be the thing.
Yeah.
Why can't Lou Gehrig's disease be like, oh man, he hit a long home run. He's got Lou Gehrig's disease tonight. Like, I mean, it can't be that. It has to be this horrible illness that makes your body seize up.
Mm-hmm. Think about Tommy John. You think he just wanted a surgery named after him? He just wanted to pitch.
That's it.
He just let him get out there and baseball, you know?
That's how it happens, man.
Yep.
That's how it happens. Careful what you wish for.
So this is all falls squarely on Lou Gehrig.
That's right.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Hope his the value of his baseball cards is plummeted now over his what he did spreading ALS so much worse.
Yep.
What he'll be known for.
Oh, we got people licking ice cream that they haven't bought. Butterfly effect.
That's it. That's it.
Yep.
He is flying. All right, let's move on. Before we get sued by the Gehrig family, lovely people. I hear wonderful things.
Great family. Great family.
I mean, honestly, pillars of the community.
Good people.
They're not like those jerks, the Kennedys. I mean, these are really salt of the earth people, the Gehrigs.
Humble, down to earth folk. Yeah.
So let's move on. So a lot of videos and images going on about this. We're talking, of course, about the MSG Sphere in Las Vegas. A lot of people don't even know that this thing is called the MSG Sphere. They just know it's that big, crazy circle thing in the middle of Las Vegas. It is nuts. And so I thought it was worth, and you know, actually, before we go any further with it, just so that people know kind of what we're talking about, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So the MSG Sphere is this huge concert venue, indoor entertainment thing. But the exterior, it is a sphere, and it has the ability to project all kinds of crazy images. It's all like a giant video screen, basically. And you can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see just, you know, some of the things here that have been projected onto this. And as you can imagine, driving down the street and just seeing this. This is the inside. So you have all of the seating in this round place, and then they have the ability to do incredible things. But of course, some of you have seen like its movement. So, I mean, we could bring up video and this eyeball blinks and things like that. There's all kinds of different things that the MSG Sphere has the ability to do. And it is incredibly cutting edge technology. I mean, yeah, obviously a giant snow globe there. So the stuff that they have the ability to do with the MSG Sphere is pretty insane. And I thought, like, just a little bit of a review. So this thing was going to be built years back, and they thought originally like might be $1 billion to be able to do. And then COVID happens and supply issues and everything else, and it goes nuts. So total cost ended up being $2.3 billion. $2.3 billion is like what hotels have traditionally. My goodness. I'm going to go ahead and mute you there, Jefe, while there's active dogfighting happening. It's a wild world out there. So $2.3 billion is like they have built hotels and resorts for that amount of money. And they're doing that now with just a concert venue. But the MSG Sphere has 17,600 seats. 168,000 speakers, 168,000 speakers, and 1.2 million LED lights. And so they're saying, and some of this is from our boy Joe Pompliano on Twitter, that the MSG Sphere could do $25 million a year in business from exterior advertising alone. Because they have the ability to project that thing, and it's seen by the entire city of Las Vegas. So it can do over $25 million a year in annual revenue alone, and they're already working to build a second one in London. The thing that I thought was really interesting, too, is that New York Knicks owner James Dolan is the mastermind behind the MSG Sphere. Now, for those who don't know, James Dolan is kind of a universally despised guy in NBA circles. He's known as one of the worst owners. People hate him. He's super petty. He's had people that have complained about him thrown out of the arena. People have hold signs up that he should sell the team. He has them lifetime ban, everything. But this is something that could probably change his image a little bit. So yeah, so it's pretty insane. The inside has a 250-foot high screen with 360-degree views all the way around. And so now they're doing like it's going to be a huge concert venue. I think U2 is the first band who's going to be performing there, opening the MSG Sphere. And that happens in September. They're doing 25 shows there. And they have all of this incredible stuff. I mean, to be able to go to watch a boxing match there or anything else, it's going to be insane. And you guys, I know, have seen like with the NBA, the Summer League has been going on. And I think I may have shown that already. But if not, I can bring it up that they have like one where they just made it into a gigantic basketball. And that's exactly what it looks like. Over the entire city is just a huge, NBA basketball to be able to kind of show off the MSG Sphere. And in fact, I'll bring it up right here. Is that coming up okay?
There it is, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just craziness. I mean, what they have the ability to do with this thing. So you guys have obviously, we've talked about it privately. You see the Twitter videos and stuff like that of the MSG Sphere. I think a lot of people thought it was kind of a joke at first, but what do you guys think of it now? Like, I would be very curious to see something there, see an event or something at the MSG Sphere.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. It's just, how distracting is that? I mean, all those hotels around there, how absolutely distracting would that be? You're trying to sleep and you look outside, all you see is a giant eyeball blinking at you. So I don't know. I mean, I think once you see it, it's kind of like, meh. All right.
There has to be car accidents of people driving around
when you
this.
see people taking pictures driving in on the main drag there. It's just got to be so many rear end accidents happening there, as if there's not already. So yeah.
What do you think, Jefe? Was it built when you were out there? Because you were out in Vegas not long ago.
Yeah, I go to Vegas at least once a year now. So I've been seeing it from the beginning stages all the way through to when even the last time we were there, they were doing test lights around it. It wasn't operational like it is now, but you would see different portions of it, whether they had lights going all the way around it, stuff like that. But the thing that to me that's so wild about it is it's so clear. The amount of LED lighting, the way that they have it all set up, and the projections that it gives off, it's quite a sight, man. I don't know if you like the picture of the eyeball. Like, if you were to look at that, like, that's pretty freaking clear. It is scary. And one of the funniest things is that at the Wynn, we've all been to the Wynn. I don't know if you guys have ever stayed there or not. But Jeff, you golf. There is one of the most expensive golf courses in America that is built. It is the only golf course that is basically on the strip, right? And mind you, the amount of money to make it so green and luscious and to look the way it is just, it's the Wynn. They spent and spared no expense on it. But while you're playing golf, there is this giant eyeball that is looking at you while you're doing that. Now, Jeff, I know you were saying that like, okay, you're staying in a room and then the lighting of it, but it's Vegas, man. What they're going to be is like, oh, you want a room with the view of the Sphere? That's an extra $100 a night to stay there. So now you have that added cost to every hotel that's in the area that can be seen from when you open up, because trust me, you can see that damn thing from just about anywhere in Vegas. It is that freaking big, man. I think it's pretty badass. It's probably the only thing that Dolan will ever and his family will ever be recognized for, because Lord knows they can't do anything with the Rangers and they ain't doing anything with the Knicks. So the New York Knicks are trash and the Rangers, have had their moments and stuff like that, but they'll never be in New York. They'll never be thanked for whatever it is that they've done with those teams. However, with what you said, Tad, and them creating, they already have the land and the space in London to create another one. And that's like number 2. And they still have plans of doing more. I don't know, man. Personally, I think it's cool. I think it's great the way it looks. And if your concert experience is turns out to be what they have imagined it to be, I think I would try to get in and try to see a show, because it might be overload and stimulated like a lot, but I think it'd be worth going and seeing and checking out.
Yeah. I would be very interested to see what it would be like.
Yeah, I think I could see maybe inside, like concert wise, if they're doing something cool in there. I don't know, just looking out to see like, even when I saw the pictures, I was like, that's kind of neat. But then like, it's a freaking giant eyeball. Like, what's it? Well, I mean, who cares, right? Like, I don't know. I don't get that excited about it. It's an eyeball, and you're right. Like, to golf at the Wynn, that's probably like, on a good day, you're going to get in there at $600 for a round of golf. That's a good day. And it goes up exponentially, depending on the season,
time of the year,
depending on the time, even depending on time of day, what part of the week you're in. I mean, so imagine golfing and all you see is this gigantic eyeball blinking at you, as if golf isn't hard enough. Now you got the pressure of this big eyeball staring at you over your 30-foot putt for double bogey,
Well, so the golf course you're talking about is Shadow Creek, of course. They're in Vegas at the Wynn. And so, you were just talking about what that costs. So Shadow Creek opened in 1989. It was originally Steve Wynn's private club. They later opened it to a limited number of MGM hotel guests. And at that time, this is sometime after 1989. So whether you want to say 90, 91, sometime in the 90s, as they made it more available, the greens fee was $500 in the 90s. So I have no idea what it is today, but I'm sure it hasn't come down any. So yeah, I think $500-600 is bare minimum of what you would probably spend to be able to play Shadow Creek.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's crazy though. It's a cool thing. I just, I would think it would lose it. The inside's going to have to obviously offer a lot more than just being able to make a giant snow globe on the outside. So I guess we'll see how the inside does, how they do with that. It sounds cool. I definitely think a concert would be in there. I'm not sure I'd want to see U2 as my first concert, but Taylor Swift.
Oh, she swizzle. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Set up
Maybe
a residency.
my language.
Set up a residency and let's go.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like to give you just an image that they have from the inside. Now, I'm sure, like at a show, this is probably computer generated to a degree. But can you imagine? Like
that is.
I don't know,
cool.
Tad. I mean, yeah, that's got to be computer generated. But I mean, if you're looking at the actual pictures from the outside, how they look, why wouldn't they look just as crystal clear on the inside?
100%.
Yeah. You'd think more so, being that it's probably a little bit smaller of a circumference that they'd have to work with, and maybe more of a flatter surface. So it's impressive. I'm not knocking it. I just, man, you're gonna have to sell a lot of concert tickets to get that money back.
Yeah.
And then they said advertising 25+ million. Like what are you gonna have? Like Chico's bail bonds on the outside of that? Like what? Like what's what are the advertising going to be though? I wonder what that's going to look like. And then do you want I don't even know how
you don't want to cheapen it.
Right. So how big is this thing that you're just going to see a huge giant billboard of, crypto.com or something on there,
I mean, it's so the inside, the screen inside is 250 feet tall. So in terms of the outside, I don't have the number right in front of me, but I mean, it's got to be, it's clearly more than that. So, I mean, we're talking, if it's 500 feet tall or something like that. I mean,
it's huge, man. I'm telling you, it's really big.
Imagine
you can
that
see it
as
from a lot of
being
places.
an advertisement. Like, I understand they said they're going to get up to 25 million for advertisement on the outside, but I mean, imagine that being just a giant billboard. And they might, if it doesn't do well, they're going to have to turn it into something like that. So I think it's kind of risky, but it's cool. I mean, not my money. So good on James Dolan for doing this. Weird that dude would have that kind of foresight for something like that.
Well, I mean, look at that. Look at that.
You can see the dimples.
Right?
You can see the dimples in the basketball, man. And the NBA paid for that. They paid to have that there all week while the summer league is going on.
Yeah.
So he's already making money on it.
Like, you see it in relation to the size of the other buildings around it and stuff. I mean, it's so big on the horizon. It's like the size of the sun.
It's so weird.
Yeah. That's so distracting, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely insane, man.
Do not jaywalk in Vegas anymore. I can tell you that much.
I'll be there in October. I'll get you some live feed from what it looks like.
Good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Crazy, man. All right, so let's see here. Got another story here moving on. Thought this one, man, this was something I had absolutely no idea was a thing. But I just found out that the 8th body farm in the United States is opening, and it's located in Virginia. So I had no idea what a body farm is. Apparently, there are 8 body farms in the United States. And a body farm is a place where bodies that have been donated to science end up in order to be able to help solve crimes all over the country. So these body farms are affiliated with universities where students study forensic anthropology to identify bodies of donors and unknown victims to determine age, gender, and ancestry. And so the 8th body farm is affiliated with George Mason University in Manassas, Virginia. And then, blah, blah, blah. Like, they have lots and lots of details. I had no idea there was such a thing as a body farm. I did not know that was a thing, not to mention that there are 8 of them.
8 of them, right? Jeez.
Crazy.
So I guess they're just, I don't, so you just donate your dead body to them, and then they just just dissect you and
so what they say is that just like you can become an organ donor when you die, people can also choose to donate their bodies to a body farm for research.
So so I saw there was a video linked to the article as well as the article itself, and from what I read on it, they are creating, they're trying to help forensic science. So they're creating scenes or situations, whether a body is decaying, whether a body, to try to help figure out for future situations or cases that may come up, in order for them to kind of like have an idea of how to maybe solve the crime or something like that. And yes, one of the forensic scientists was like, I can't wait till I die because I'm going to donate my body for this purpose. And I'm like, right on, man. Like, yeah, like he's looking forward to his end so that he can be a part of these 8 different places to donate his body for science. Now, this is like the second thing that I've seen that I think is kind of weird. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the bodies exhibits. They have them throughout the world.
We've been to one. We were in one in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's I don't want to say kind of in the same vein because they're not displaying things for people to come and see, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, where all these people have donated themselves to the cause of learning and trying to figure things out in the future. Would I do it? Probably not. But the thought behind it is, I guess it's kind of smart because of what they're trying to do here with trying to figure out crimes or how to help better people come up with ideas of scenarios of what's happening, 3D imaging of the scenes. It's a pretty neat concept, I'd say. But yeah, number 8, that's a little weird.
Yeah, and I mean it's on a 5-acre piece of property.
Yeah.
So I mean this is a significant spot that they've. So that's a lot of bodies, I guess, is the long and short of it. Like if you got a 5-acre place to work with, you got a lot of bodies there. Yeah. So pretty bizarre thing, but congratulations, Virginia, I guess. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me in terms of where the other ones are throughout the country, but yeah, thought that was a fascinating story, but also just kind of like shines a light on a whole different thing that you just never think about as it pertains to that exact thing. The idea that there are body farms and all of that stuff. So.
Imagine Google misdirecting you to that place, huh? There were supposed to be flowers here. This isn't a flower farm.
Yeah, that'd be very frightening.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, some of these like serial killer people, just go visit the body farm. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do don't
There
be
you
involved.
go. Get your fix that way. Yeah.
Yeah, just go visit, take a day trip,
Yeah.
and
Get your fix.
don't make it weird. So,
Wow.
all right. Well, you know what? Let's move into a little quick hits here. What do you think? Ready for some quick hits?
Quick
Let's
hits.
do it.
All right. Here we go. Quick hits. Okay. Houston health officials report a syphilis outbreak and a 128% spike in syphilis cases among women in Houston. So, any gentlemen in Houston, maybe taking if you got a company trip coming up to Houston, and stay in your hotel room. Bring your own sheets with you. Don't trust her. You meet her in the bar. Don't do it. Don't do it. Not worth it. And these numbers are going crazy. Syphilis infections in Houston rose by 57% from 2019 to 2022. Why it's blowing up, I don't know, but they say that it's just continuously growing, and it was next to nothing in 2016, and it's just kind of just continued to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, they even have billboards there. Syphilis is serious.
Pretty
it
horrible.
is.
And
Yes,
it's just
it
a
is.
picture of a woman with it just sores all
Sores?
over herself. Yeah. That's so weird that it would be up. Like, what would be causing that? Well, why would women be going out here having all this theoretically unprotected sex? You would have to assume that's where this is all coming from. Jeff, this reminds me, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The villages in Florida.
I was going to talk about that.
That's right.
Maybe you can go ahead and talk about it, because that to me was at one point. This place is what I guess a 55 and over.
It's retirement old people destination.
It's like a city, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a city unto itself. I mean, grocery stores, shopping centers, like everything is in this place, including
including no, seriously, it's you joke about it, but it's like a serious thing where we're not. I mean, obviously in Houston, this is the article that you sent out, Tad. There's not an age group on it, but obviously the thing is that they're wanting to protect women because help them if they're pregnant, because it can carry over to the child when the child is born, and so therefore that's why they're trying to bring the awareness to it, which is obviously serious. But what Jeff was alluding to is that there's a certain place in the villages in Florida where they had I want to say coincidentally a spike in sexually transmitted diseases. And they're trying to find out why is that? Well, there was this little pill. I don't know if you guys heard of it, called Viagra, that when that pill came out, all of a sudden all these old people were starting to have, sex, and apparently they were doing it, unprotected and whatnot. And so, the numbers started just going, crazy as far as STDs are concerned. But in Houston, what's like what the article was alluding to, what's more scarier is that these women can pass the disease on to their children when they're about to be born, and it's even that it's deadly for children. As an adult, it's not good, but it can be managed, from what I understand. But it's one of those things where it's like they were trying to be cautious of this. But even Parks and Recreation, I don't know if you remember that show. They had an episode where they were trying to teach safe sex to the older community because people were just having sex that's unprotected. So
sure, no chance
be careful.
of getting pregnant, and
just hey, be smart.
Yeah, well, you said about how like that the Villages is like a city. The Villages spans 3 counties in Florida. 40,000 homes. 40,000 homes and more than 70,000 residents. It has 34 golf courses, 9 country clubs, 2 downtown squares, and a slew of restaurants and bars. And so everyone's just out partying, having a good time.
Yeah.
And let the good times roll, baby.
Look, I already put my down payment on our place down there. So,
But are you going to go to Margaritaville or are you going to go to the Villages? Which one are you going to do? Because Margaritaville is, he's trying to start his own thing, his own community that's on the up and rise.
it probably depends on the HOA fees. That'll be the deciding factor.
Yeah. Check the STD rates, compare them at both. You don't want to have to carry around the scarlet letter of being the guy who introduced STDs to Margaritaville. So
That HOA, if it gets more than $150 a month, I'm out of there.
Out.
They can't be paying that much.
You're not
Too
going to get
much.
me. I'm no sucker.
No.
But yeah, so if you're in Houston, keep it in your pants. Keep it in your pants.
You better double wrap that shit.
Or if nothing else, go to the doctor and get some antibiotics because that's usually all it takes to treat it. It's not like some major problem. Just get some antibiotics.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go all natural. I don't believe in antibiotics.
That's right. Like a Seventh-day Adventist or something, but
Yeah.
also wanting to have unprotected sex with strangers.
Why can't I think of the the famous artist, Sunflowers, the Dutch artist that cut his ear off and gave it to
Van
his
Gogh.
Van
Van
Gogh. He supposedly had syphilis, and it kind of worked numbers on his mind.
It can mess with you. I've heard it can mess with you.
And I heard antibiotics work as well.
Yeah. You got that on good authority.
Good authority. So,
All right.
So no Houston trips anytime soon.
Yeah. Canceling my flight to Houston. I'm just going to drive. All right. All right. Moving on. Quick hits. Okay, so maybe this will be tied together, maybe it won't. But I thought there were some some fascinating things that I saw recently on Twitter, and of course, needless to say, not everything I have is loading up right now. But the one that I had that I thought was pretty fascinating was the rise of prisons and people going to prison, the number of prisons in the United States, and the fall in the number of mental hospitals in the U.S. And man, the corresponding numbers, and let me, in fact, put my money where my mouth is here. Share my screen so you can see what I am looking at. Sorry. Here we go. I mean, it's pretty clear that those two numbers seem to correlate pretty closely, right?
wow.
So, thought that was a very, very hard to believe situation that, that you could have that. And it makes you wonder, like, how many people are going to prison and how many prisons are being built. And this is all because, look, let's face facts, right? This is happening because the prison system is an industry. That is a private business industry. There is massive money in owning and running prisons, but there isn't in mental hospitals. And so you have all these people that are mentally unfit that are just being now housed in prisons that are clearly not doing anything to improve their situation or rehabilitate them in any way. And then, there's business though, and they're making money on the prison side, not on the mental hospital side. So I thought it was really kind of just a fascinating reflection there as how those two things kind of corresponded with each other. So I just thought it'd be worth bringing up at least.
Here we go. Let me get my shoes on because I'm about to hop down another hole.
Jump down in that rabbit hole.
Here we go. Do you know how much the prisons garnered in essentially free? We won't call it free because when they get out of prison, they get 17 cents on the hour. Do you know how much they produced in goods last year? $11 billion worth.
Wow.
That's not an accident. This is a for-profit system that we're in. And and you just look at all the stuff that's going on these days. Like it's getting worse by the moment. You can say what you want, but when we accept the someone's mental health now, we accept it as their rights to have that, right? So we're talking about young children who are confused. Well, instead of helping them, we're now encouraging them to go in a direction that maybe they probably shouldn't go. I'm going to say they shouldn't go at their age, but we now encourage this stuff. And it's all just part of a big plan, man. I'm sorry. It is. When you can get $11 billion worth of goods and services out of prisons, there's no debating why we don't have mental health hospitals anymore.
Yeah.
While someone can never be declared mentally insane anymore.
Right. Well, and it's fascinating because you hear more conversation than ever about mental health and about caring about mental health. And there's so much awareness around mental health, and everyone's, oh, well, I go to therapy and I do this and that. But then nothing is being treated with it on the criminal side whatsoever. Just not just totally swept under the rug. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you get to that situation where you get locked up, forget about any type of treatment, forget about any type of rehabilitation. You're screwed at that point. It isn't going to work out for you. It's just, it's crazy.
So down here, a couple things. There was, I remember vividly on a street that we used to go on all the time. It's Lantana Boulevard, just off of 95. And there was a abandoned building for the last, it was up maybe 20 years ago. And it probably stayed, it was built obviously way before that. But everybody knew that was a mental hospital, for people to go and stay in. And then they shut it down. The facility shut down, and it stayed empty forever. Just now, within the past 5 years, they since have demolished it, cleared out the land. It is now a townhome as well as an apartment community. It has an Aldi, a Chick-fil-A. It was big enough for them to go ahead and just create housing, and for them to put restaurants and grocery stores all in front of it. So I'm telling you, it covered a lot of area. And I just read an article, man, so stinking sad, of a young lady who was at a hospital. She had a child, and the mother is pleading with the sheriff's department and everybody for them not to press charges because she's fighting because her daughter is schizophrenic. And in the article, it read that she thought the hospital was trying to steal her baby. And so she went into the hospital and went to go get her baby, to get it out. And in the process of doing that, I think she had a kitchen knife of some sorts, and she ended up stabbing a couple of the workers that are in the hospital. She got out of the hospital some way, somehow. and she dropped the baby off at a friend's house. They picked up the baby. Like everything is back to normal, except the mother now is pleading with people for them to understand that her daughter isn't a criminal. She has mental issues which caused all of this. And so, to what you're saying, it's like I think they kind of, unfortunately, because people got hurt, they got stabbed. Like now, it is a criminal case. Now it's a little bit more than just it being a mental issue. But it's just crazy to see that there isn't places for people to go to get the help that they want. But even if they do, and they get sentenced to you have to go to therapy or you have to go see somebody to talk about your problems, the system is so jam logged. I could only imagine that they're just rushing the people through to get them out so that they get the next patient in, so that they can just do the same thing with the next person. And who knows if they're getting the treatment that they are. Because remember, I think personally, when we were growing up, we used to always see shows or movies based out of mental hospitals or places like that, where the people weren't necessarily getting the help that they needed. They were just being drugged or, being put comatose to the situation.
Right, it was like the worst cliche of those things. It wasn't like a really good treatment type of thing.
Right. So it was like all those things. And it's like, man, it's very unfortunate. But yeah, there's something there. Those things do go hand in hand. And it's like, it's scary to think that you're right. It get mentioned a lot, but are we really doing anything about it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something that also kind of ties together with that in some way. Other people can judge how much, but I will just tell you that I think there has to be a correlation. If you look at the data, pharmaceutical company ads are the biggest customers for advertising purchasing on the news. Okay. So to give you an idea, CBS alone, 4 out of 5, their biggest advertisers are pharmaceutical companies. ABC, their biggest advertiser is a pharmaceutical company. And they have 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of 5 as well. And MSNBC, their biggest is also pharmaceutical, and they have 1, 2, 3 out of 5. So when you look at it, almost every station, at least for the news, maybe not for like across the board, but for the news, at least 3, if not 4 or even 5 out of 5 of their largest advertisers are pharmaceutical companies. So what we've done is we've kind of created this era of, drug treatment not actually curing anything, right? So we're treating symptoms, but there's no actual like follow up with actual mental health and mental therapy and these types of things to actually improve anything. Just take a pill and make it better, basically.
Because it's all about the money.
That's right. That's right.
So is the I know you said most of them are 4 out of 5. Is the 5th one the Flex Seal company? Because
That's a good question, because they are all over the place.
Every single commercial I see, if it's not that, it's the Flex Seal guy.
Yeah, you can't watch programming now. If you still watch like cable and stuff like that, you can't go to a commercial break without there being some sort of pill for something, right? Whatever it is. But like, yeah, so I get that. And if you're watching the news and you're trying to get information or what you feel is good information from the news, why not they just keep pumping you with advertisements of things like, oh yeah, do you feel like you have a headache? Do you not feel good? Blah blah blah. Right. Yeah, take this. Yeah. So I can definitely see that, and man, that correlation is quite amazing.
I saw, and I don't know what it was for, the bulging eye, diabetes, or something. Oh my God,
yeah.
I saw that today, and I read the thing. This is an injection in your eyeball.
Holy moly!
I stopped and paused, and I was like,
my own eyes are bugging out now.
I know that. I thought it was a pill or something. I didn't know it was an actual injection.
This says monthly injections, and it said eyeball. You would have to knock me out for that. I
100%.
There's no chance I could ever
do it yourself.
Yeah.
Wait, are you doing it yourself? Oh
it's hard for people to put contact lenses in. I'm not just gonna be like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oof.
Yes,
thank
it was
you.
a direct injection. So
Oh.
unless you're just mixing up words, injection to me does not mean squirting something in my eyeball.
Oh.
So
Right.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. I don't know who gives those, and yeah, you'd have to put me out.
Yeah.
I'll just have bulging eyeballs at that point. I don't care.
That's right. Yeah, I'll live with that. Because yeah, I don't know like what's what, but I can tell you, like I have the names. I have the names of the pharmaceutical companies that spend the most money on each network for advertising. On ABC, Ibrance, Humira, Dupixent, CBS, Prolia, Prevagen, Otezla, Dupixent, Xeljanz on NBC, Eliquis, Dupixent. I mean, there's just Dupixent's all over the place, man. On MSNBC, Novartis, Gilead, AbbVie. I mean, there's just like everybody is out advertising on every single station, and they're spending more money than not only any other industry, any other company, any other individual company. It's hard to imagine that there's that many pills for that many things, everything across the board. But that's the world and the culture that we're in now, is just take a pill and make it go away versus actually doing any of the work to improve
Yeah.
something.
I mean, that's the same with health and everything else. I mean, you get a pill for this, and then you have to take a pill
Yeah.
for that
Offset
pill.
the effects of
Yeah,
that.
if you're taking this pill, this will, in relations to, will help with this.
Yep.
So you're literally taking a pill because of a pill you're taking. It just nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's even worse is when they stumble across things. You're having problems with blood flow throughout your body. So well, like you know, what I mean, like your blood pressure's high or something like that. You're having problems with blood flow. Take this little blue pill, right?
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, you're walking around and it's the pleats in my pants, right? It's an optical illusion.
going.
All of it. So like all these drugs that are out there, all of a sudden have other effects. Like right now, the biggest thing that's happening right now is in the diabetic industry. The fact, what is
Ozempic.
it? Ozempic. That one right now, Charles Barkley is melting himself away.
Yeah.
He's not going to say it, but they're injecting him with this the diabetes medicine that helps you offset. And what does it do? It helps with weight loss. And so now, like every diabetic company is trying to come up with pill forms. They're trying to figure out how they can get this and monetize it to try to make it actually into a weight loss. They can't say that. They can't say that it does that. However, it's just one of the effects.
Yeah. Helps
and it's
lower
like
your A1C. Yeah.
That's
you're
right.
like, holy crap! Like, why are we stumbling across these things? Did this not come up in the placebo, period of you taking your medicines?
Yeah.
It's just too crazy, man.
My mom.
I have friends that take Ozempic, and I've even seen things about like people in California will go across the border, and even if you're not in California, people will travel down to Mexico to be able to buy it for cheaper, and they have other things, other versions that aren't Ozempic, that's just like a brand name, but in general, like, and buy it up, and you can get all of these different strengths and everything that you buy up for X number of dollars, and you take it home with you.
I mean, I'm assuming probably if you're, overweight or, your A1C is probably high. So I guess technically it's doing its job, right?
That's right.
So, hey, this will help. And really all it's doing is just, making you lose all this weight. My mom has a friend that's on it, and she swears like she's a different person now. Like it's changed like her mood and like she thinks she's like half bipolar now. So,
oh no!
I don't know.
Good
God. She's like,
But
oh,
was she fully bipolar before? And then
She
now
could
she's
have been.
Another benefit.
It shrank her bipolar as
Shrank
well.
her bipolarism as well. So, yeah. Thank you,
Wow.
Ozempic. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you though. I mean, look. I mean, it's supposed to be quick hits, so I hadn't planned on getting into it too deep. But this is probably one that we should have talked about, not in quick hits. But I'll tell you another last leg that ties into some of this stuff is looking at the impact of the COVID-19 lockdown on education and mental health. This will be the last little thing. Reading ability in the United States, scores are the lowest in 30 years. Math scores are the worst since testing began in 1969. There's a 50% rise in mental health emergency room visits for young people. And you don't hear about any of that stuff. And so, you look at it and you go, okay, so we have generations now of the worst reading, the worst math, the worst mental health. And they're supposed to be the future earners. They're supposed to be the future business owners, the future employees, the future, backbone of the country. I mean, how is that possible? How does that work?
Just getting ready to jump down another hole here.
Here, real quick, Jeff, before you go,
ahead.
so
Yeah, let
keep
me
stretching.
stretch.
I fortunately know a lot of teachers, and during that time period of COVID, when everybody was learning from a distance and kids were at home and stuff like that and trying to learn, what was basically I don't want to say just told to me, but was understood with the whole like no kid left behind type deal that rolled into it was basically whether the kid did or didn't do their work or their assignments. It was basically, go ahead, little Johnny, go ahead, little Susie, keep moving forward. We'll just keep pushing you through because obviously COVID isn't your fault and whatever happened, but we're not going to go ahead and punish you because your parents now have to take an interest role of your life and try to help you with your schoolwork and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they have to do their thing by working full time, whatever it is that they're doing. And so with all that being said, then we're just going to go ahead and just keep pushing you along, whether you learn something or not, you're on to the next grade. So I do know that there was that going on, from talking to many different teachers, and where now it's catching up to teachers that are in older grades that are realizing that the group that I had before that was a little bit smarter than the group I had before that. And it just keeps on getting watered down, or I don't want to use the word dumb. I don't want to say that about it, but like the level of their intelligence and their comprehension of what it is that they can gather has just kept waning over the last
off.
three years.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to make a huge impact. How could it not? Right. And this isn't, I want to be clear, even talking about this, it's not blaming teachers. I mean, teachers were not put in a position to be able to succeed at all. I mean, they got thrown in the middle of this and had to find a way. So it's not their fault. But at the end of the day, when you have a huge number of people that will soon be entering the workforce with the worst reading skills, the worst math skills, the worst mental health, it doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well. So, Jeff, I know you were tying bed sheets together, getting ready to climb down into the rabbit hole here. So, what do you have for us?
It wasn't an accident. This isn't an accident. This is on purpose. Yeah. The more you can control people, the more the government has power.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want you to be smart. They don't want you to have power. They want you to rely solely on them. You cannot tell me this was an accident. This is a pre-planned situation. And now we go back and we look at the numbers, we look at COVID, we look at all this stuff, and you realize just really how many people actually passed away from this stuff, right? Like how much and we claim we didn't know about this. We claim, we claim we didn't know. But like kids especially, I mean, it was 1/1000% of children that would have passed away from this. And most of them had some sort of underlying issue, some underlying situation, flu. There was during COVID, there was, two cases of the flu when COVID came out, right? I mean, honestly, like flu dropped like 90% in 1 year because of COVID. Yeah. What a disservice to our kids. And then you have people like Randy Weingartner, the teachers union, the head of the teachers union, coming out and saying we did everything we could. And she was the one that was, trying to not have these kids go back to school, the teachers union, they had all these lists of things, that had nothing to do with safety. It was everything else political going on at the time. And meanwhile, our kids suffered. I have a kid that suffered tremendously during this time, probably shouldn't have been moved on. And just now, through hard work, is just trying to get back. I have friends who kids started kindergarten, who smart as a whip, get into kindergarten. Now you're trying to learn virtually, and now they're in third grade and struggling. Whereas the other one didn't start kindergarten, started kindergarten in school, and is doing just fine. And that happens, right? You get that all the time. One kid's just catches on better than the other.
Not all made equal.
But it was a real thing. You're trying to teach kids virtually in kindergarten, especially. Even in 10th grade, 9th grade, whatever, 8th grade, sitting there listening to a person on a computer trying to learn, and you're doing this 8 hours a day. What a mess. What a disservice that we did to our kids during this time. And they weren't vulnerable to this. Like, because this wasn't a disease that affected them. And we knew this well early into this process. We knew the kids weren't affected by this, and there was no reason they shouldn't have been in school, as long as they were out.
Yeah, I think the devil's advocate side to that, and I'm not saying I believe this, I'm just saying that what a lot of people would say from the devil's advocate position would be true, right? Kids were not nearly as affected. But what happens when that kid comes home and gives it to mom and dad or grandma or whatever the case may be? You have issues there. Now, the reality is, that's a whole other point that can be argued, right? On what precautions should have been taken and how and those types of things. But at the end of the day, the results are what they are, and they're scary. Right? I mean, it's a bad situation because the fact of the matter is it's very difficult. I don't care if you're in kindergarten, third grade, fifth grade, ninth grade, it doesn't matter. 2 years of poor learning, you don't just get to recoup that and get that right back and then bounce back. I mean, that's part of the deal now for those people. And then again, when you mix in, we've talked about the mental health component and, and all of that stuff, man, it's a scary recipe, man. It's a scary recipe for what could happen out there.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, not to jump on your whole conspiracy thing that's, out there in the world and stuff. I mean, going into this, we've already, known for years that America's, like been behind the 8 ball when it comes to education, right? We've been behind a lot of countries that have been just doing much better than we have. Now, granted, they all have their stories to tell during COVID and stuff like that. But I think when they got back to it and there was a lot less BS happening politically and stuff like that around their countries, it was a matter of, okay, it's time to get back to classes. I think they got whipped back into shape a lot quicker than I would say our kids were too. And so now that gap that we had where we were, I think, 19 in the world in education, we might have went ahead and dropped back behind a lot more countries because of how we go and we approach things versus other countries that are more inclined and more disciplined in how they want their children to be educated. Now, some right, some wrong. Obviously, there's certain countries that do things, how we wouldn't believe or care to do it, but It is what it is. We're still lacking behind a lot of countries, and I think we might have made that gap even bigger now.
Yeah. No,
100%.
Yeah, very hard to argue. I mean, it's, just to give you just like even the tiniest frame of reference, you realize that the literacy rate in just Canada, is 99%. In America, the United States, the literacy rate is 85.8%. Now, 85.8%, if you didn't know any better, sounds like a pretty high number.
No.
But it's 15% lower than Canada is.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that Canada, when I say that number of 99% literacy rate, they're ranked number 36 in the world. Number 36. So, you start to look at these things and you realize like, oh, okay, there's so many things out there, that we're just not conscious of. So anyway, I mean, yeah, we could go on and on about this. We probably need a different time and a different scenario to be able to spend a whole episode on this, because there's no doubt. I mean, it's gonna create further challenges, moving forward, and it's going to be significant. And I will say that it will be maybe easier for certain people to stand out, because the ones who commit themselves to their education or their mental health or any number of these things, really that disparity will probably be bigger and bigger as time goes on, as these people are entering the workforce and that type of thing. So, but I mean, look, there's no doubt from the conspiracy side, 100% all of these things that we're talking about can also be easily looked at as control. When you are hooked on certain types of medications and need certain types of pills and certain things like this, that's a form of control, particularly if the government is going to be the one that provides your insurance that allows you to be able to have those things and controls whether or not you have the ability to have that insurance, how it works, etc. Then when you factor in other situations like pandemics or anything else, those things are control. And whether they're intentional in the beginning or not, that's up for debate, right? But I don't think there's much debate over the idea that there is a desire for control, and the greater the amount of control they have, like, even if it was just bad luck, the whole COVID thing just happened to be just the worst luck in the world, that what are the chances that the laboratory that works on this stuff, horrible luck that it would happen to be in Wuhan, China, but it can't have anything. Those things couldn't be related. It has to be a bat flying by, coincidentally.
Someone decided to eat.
Yeah,
exactly.
Landed on somebody's plate.
Yeah.
Like if you, it couldn't be like there's literally the place, the infectious disease laboratory where they've worked on COVID-19 and the coronavirus is in Wuhan, China. And everyone tells you it's unrelated. That has nothing to do with it. It's a bat. And you say, okay, well, they say it's a bat. I guess it must be a bat. What the heck do I know? Right. I'm not in the government. I don't know any of these things. So you accept that. Then you accept that you got to stay in your house and you got to do all these things, and that's fair because you got to be safe. But then each of these things, what happens? What do you think happens if you look at the demographic of people who end up in prison? I bet you'll find a lot of mental health issues, and I bet you find a lot of lack of education. So what happens if you have a whole generation of kids who have a lack of education and mental health issues? You're going to see far greater growth in the prison system than even what we've seen up to this point, right? And so I'm not saying that the prison system is behind COVID. That's a little too tinfoil hat, right? But I will say that I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these things tie together in the way that they do. Like, it would be a really weird scenario if all of this stuff was just purely coincidental, but just also that everyone happened to benefit from it. Right. That seems unlikely, right? So, and the only people that didn't benefit from it are the normal working class people.
That's it.
Right? So that's, I don't know. That's all I would say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone else has anything else, obviously add to it. I wasn't ending it there. I'm just saying that's kind of my take.
Look who suffered the most as far as businesses are concerned. Small businesses. Who had record growth?
Yeah.
Walmart, Target,
Amazon.
Meanwhile, the small business owners couldn't be open. They weren't allowed to be open, but you could have 7,500 people inside of a Walmart, and that's perfectly fine because that's essential.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe it is all just a coincidence, and I'm just a big dummy for believing that there's more to it than that. But I don't think I am.
Yeah.
I think there always will be more to it than we'll ever know, when it's all said and done. But again, you guys know I love movies. I love watching movies and stuff like that. I can't help but think with certain corporations rising, it just lends to itself. And I've made mention to it before on our podcast, Idiocracy, that movie, on how it plays on many levels of the direction that we're heading in education wise, how certain things, Powerade, certain conglomerates are the companies to use. Even our boy Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes in one of the great movies that they gave us, the Restaurant Wars, and the one that won was Taco Bell. You know what I mean? It's like certain, of course I'm referring to Demolition Man. The
one of the greats.
The situation is that all these major companies that were to be able to make it out there, just lends to the future of like, is that all we're gonna have? Will there be small businesses out there for us to go to and help and partake in stuff like that? I don't know. Scary thought.
Yeah. It's true, man. It's true, because I can tell you that the U.S. placed 11th out of 79 countries in science the last time the testing was administered in 2018. The U.S. students' math scores, there has not been improvement in math scores since 2003.
Wow.
So, I mean, there isn't any change. So it's not good. I mean, and so in essence, no matter what, nothing's getting better. And that's the issue that you look at with this, is that you say, okay, well, no matter what happens, things aren't improving. The U.S. ranks near the bottom of students' math skills. And so that's kind of an important thing. And I understand students don't think they need it because everyone has a calculator on their phone and all that kind of stuff. But boy, try being an engineer. And I promise you, the calculator on your phone isn't going to do the job for you. So there's a lot of need out there, and electricians and all of that stuff. I mean, math is a huge part of it. So there's a lot to it. It's a complicated story that we don't have time to do a deep dive in, or even any deeper than we've already done tonight. But it's pretty crazy stuff. And you start to see there are a lot of correlations, man, and a lot of correlations that tie to profit as well, which is awfully strange. So some other time we could certainly look at the stock prices of, Pfizer and AstraZeneca and, all of these other companies, and what's happened with them as well through this, because certainly, now they're kind of saying like, oh no, it turned out you didn't need 3 or 4 boosters, and you didn't have to have all of this stuff, and it really wasn't any more effective to have it. But you find that out afterwards. At the time, it's just like, keep it going. So they wanted to push it as long as they possibly could. And look, I hate to be a doomsday prepper type person here, but does anyone, let's just assume for a moment that the bat eating thing was just a bad coincidence and COVID ended up that way. If it wasn't intentional, don't you think that every country has now seen what they could do intentionally if they wanted to?
Sure.
Like what the power is, right? Let's assume for a moment it wasn't intentional to begin with. Assuming it wasn't, boy, it sure showed a lot of people what could happen if you did do it intentionally. So the idea that there's not going to be another pandemic at some point seems insane to me. Like I think it's very wishful thinking to just go, well, it was just bad luck. Don't worry, it'll never come up again. I mean, why? When you have plenty of countries that want chaos and thrive on that and want to hurt America, and this hurt America as much or more than almost anybody as it pertains to not just deaths, but economic harm and the way that it weakened the country. So if nothing else, you've shown everyone a very clear path on how to be able to create a heck of a problem through a pandemic.
That's why we hope it was really just one bat that carried COVID, and no other bats have it. It's just that one bat.
Weird mutation.
Yeah.
That turned into lunch. So anyway, yeah, we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap this episode up, because we're getting late here. So with that being the case, got one last story. I always like to end the show on some trivia or an interesting story or something to kind of end off on an interesting note. And I found this story and I thought this one was worth reading to you. So, on the night of January 6th, 1982, a passenger on a commercial jet was looking out the window as the plane flew over the Colorado mountains when he spotted headlights blinking SOS. The passenger brought this to the attention of the pilots, who radioed the location of the blinking light to police on the ground. A massive rescue operation was launched, and rescuers found Alan Lee Phillips stranded in a snowdrift. It was in the middle of a severe snowstorm, and the temperature had dropped down to negative 22 degrees. If it wasn't for the random passenger on the plane who happened to look out the window and see this and even recognize it, that it was SOS, there's no way that Alan would have survived the night. For 40 years, Alan's story has been hailed as miraculous. But almost 4 decades later, it became apparent that Phillips wasn't an innocent motorist trying to make his way home in bad weather. In fact, hours earlier, he'd killed 2 young women who were hitchhiking nearby. On that day, Barbara Jo Oberholzer and Annette K. Schnee vanished without a trace. On January 7th, 1982, a woman's body was found 5 miles south of Breckenridge, Colorado. She'd been shot twice. The only 2 clues at the scene were a set of house keys and 1 orange sock. The keys belonged to the dead woman, but the orange sock did not. 6 months later, and 13 miles away, another woman's body was found. She had also been shot to death. Police were stunned when they discovered she was wearing the match for the orange sock. The murdered women were both locals, 29-year-old Barbara Oberholzer and 21-year-old Annette K. Schnee. They both disappeared on the same day, and both had been shot with a medium-caliber revolver. The Park County Sheriff's Office said that Alan Lee Phillips was arrested in February of 2021 after DNA testing linked him to the kidnapping and murder of Annette Shee and Barbara Jo Oberholzer. He was convicted by a Park County jury in September of 2022 of first-degree murder and kidnapping and sentenced to life in prison, but he would only spend 6 months in prison because in March of 2023, he died at 72 years old.
Jeez.
So from 1982 all the way up until 2022, this guy had been living with having gotten away from that, with that crime. And he had just murdered 2 women. So everyone thought it was this amazing thing. He's signaling for help. Oh, what good fortune. Somebody in a plane happens to see him and they send the police and they help him. It's just a feel-good story. And in reality, that dude was a cold-blooded murderer who hours earlier had murdered 2 women and then got stuck in a snowdrift trying to get away with the crime. He's just frantically signaling for help, and then he gets rescued. But inevitably, things catch up. And so 40 years later, that dude ends up going to prison.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of glad. I feel like today's show's theme was pretty heavy. You know, we had our moments where we're laughing and stuff like that, but I'm glad when you said one more story and you didn't say that we're going to end it on a happy note.
Yeah.
because this is a pretty twisted story that goes dark really fast. So
yeah. But it is crazy that justice does get served.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
End,
like there is that. Yeah, because that dude could have froze to death that night.
Yeah.
And he got his 40 years, but you know what? They caught him eventually, and that dude's name will always be known as that, and anything good gets forgotten about. He gets locked up, and 6 months later, he's dead. And, you know, so probably, arguably, he should have just frozen to death that night and not been saved. But, you know, it's a pretty miraculous save from him in the first place, because I can tell you, first of all, I would not know how to flash my high beams to signal SOS. So start with that.
Yep.
Second of all, if that happened, there's no chance that I'd be like, wait a minute, there's an airplane flying up there. Let me flash my lights and hope that someone's going to see that, recognize it, and then send police for me. Like, there's a 0% chance. If anything, I'd see an airplane and be like, daggone it, there's my chance. I wish there was some way I could signal them, but I don't have a flare or anything. SOS. Might need to learn how to do that.
And just someone randomly looks out.
Yeah.
Just flying low enough that you would be able to recognize that and then understand. Because someone could flash SOS at me and I would have no clue what it is.
No,
Like,
not at all.
Yeah, I'd given them the bird because they were giving me the high beams, you know?
Yeah.
You jerk. Really
Go
just signaling
around.
for help. Yeah. Just go around. Oh, dang. Oh, that's an awful story.
Yeah. Yeah. But he got caught. He didn't get away with it. Probably thought he got away with it for a long, long time, though. Good Lord, man.
Jeez.
But it is interesting. It's kind of the same with like the Golden State Killer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, these people that it's like nowadays DNA and everything else and these ancestry tests, which we've talked about on the show before.
Yeah.
But man, more often than not, they'll find a way to get you. It may take a long time, but more and more and more, you know, they'll find you. They'll get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Very good show. Jefe, good to have you on with us, brother.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you. Good to have you back. Hopefully we can do it a little more often, and we look forward to being to have you on. Hopefully we'll get T-Rock on here at some point as well. Been a little while for him too. So
it's always a good time. Love seeing the boys, love being on with the boys, and trying to entertain the world.
That's it. We talked last week about our global audience and all the countries that are tuning in and stuff like that, and it's a pretty fascinating list. In fact, we talked about last week. I wonder what percentage is in Thailand that they probably knew exactly what we were talking about.
Oh man!
Please
chime in. Please. Reach out to the show.
Cheeseburger tastes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Tell us about the real cheeseburger, because I can tell you now. When I look at, let me see if Thailand is one of our audiences at all. I have
please.
Canada, the UK, Australia, the Philippines. I don't have Thailand. I do have the Philippines. Almost 1.5% of our listeners are in the Philippines. So yeah. So maybe if you're in the Philippines, maybe you take a little trip over to Thailand to grab that real cheeseburger from Burger King.
You're
Tell us
certainly
how
closer than we are.
Tell us how it is.
That's right. Yeah, a little easier for you. Go ahead and just shoot over there.
That's funny.
All right, gents, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Appreciate it as always. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Good night.